Today I'm sharing my go-to resources on Maurice Ravel. Links with everything mentioned are in the description. This is going to be rather piano-centric because I am a classical pianist, and his works I've performed, naturally, a piano in them. I wrote my doctoral thesis among other papers on his piano music, so I guess we could call this part 1.5 of the books I used in music school series. If you're looking for a solid biography in English, I recommend Ravel, published in 2011, written by Roger Nichols, one of the leading scholars of 19th and 20th century French music. It's a biography, so there's not much leeway in terms of plot, but the author provides historical context to give a fuller understanding of the era. Thorough in research and analysis, and for providing details, added quotes, and commentary. In terms of compilations, a Ravel Reader, Correspondence, Articles, Interviews, published in 2003. This is published in English and is, as the title suggests, a compilation of articles, reviews, interviews, letters. Sometimes it's reassuring knowing that even he thinks his own playing isn't doing his compositions justice and hands it off to other performers. Although there is an older version in French by the same editor, if you do know French, I would suggest Maurice Ravel, l'intégrale Correspondance, écrits et entretiens, published in 2018. This is a more recent and comprehensive compilation. Similar setup to the English compilation, but with over 2,650 documents in total. I'm not too keen on the paper quality, but it does make sense at 1,769 pages. If you're interested in piano music, The Art of French Piano Music, Debussy, Ravel, Fauré, Chabrier by Roy Howat, published in 2009. Something I do appreciate is that while yes, he is a musicologist, he is also a pianist who can actively play. Combining research and performance in this way gives the text more weight since the analyses are rooted in practical experience, and interpreting French music is no easy feat. The structural analysis, history of course, but also performing issues such as approaching interpretation, body language, use of pedals, etc. Not light reading, but would definitely recommend, especially if you're a pianist. The Cambridge Companion to Ravel. This one is more on the academic dense side, but does discuss various genres such as chamber music, ballet, and opera. It is a three-parter: culture and aesthetic, musical explorations, and performance and reception. These kinds of publications are also useful if you're less familiar with a topic and want to search up these authors for their contributions. Cahiers Maurice Ravel. These are annual scientific publications in French, with each issue presenting, quote, a series of unpublished or unknown archival material, including correspondence and interviews of Maurice Ravel, pieces going to auction, or other publication news, end quote. For pianists, in Professor Pressler's biography, there's a section of masterclass notes outlining comments by measure. In this book, there's Gaspard de la Nuit, Le Tombeau de Couperin, and the Piano Trio. In this other book, there's the Sonatine and Miroir. If you're playing Miroir, there is a DMA thesis by Professor Korevaar called Ravel's Mirrors. For vocalists and pianists, there's a section on Ravel in the interpretation of French song by Pierre. There's also an interesting read of Analyse des œuvres pour piano de Maurice Ravel by Olivier Messiaen, compiled and edited by Yvonne Loriod-Messiaen on Mawer, Gaspard de la Nuit, and Le Tombeau de Couperin. In terms of scores, I've made a tier list video. Which edition you choose may depend on what you have access to, your budget, and reading preference. Regardless of the score you choose to learn from, cross-referencing and comparing editions to ensure all the details are as correct as they can be is highly recommended, not just for Ravel, but every work you learn. Ravel was incredibly meticulous in what he wanted, so it's good to know how to differentiate between the notation from an editor versus the composer himself. If you're just looking for an online score, I'm SLP, depending on your country's copyright restrictions. For autograph manuscripts or holographs online, there's the piano arrangement of La Valse at the Morgan Library and Museum, and some sketches of Rhapsody Espagnole and L'Enfant et les Sortilèges with the Juilliard manuscript collection. If you want a tour of Ravel's final home in Montfort-l'Amaury, there's a great video by the Philharmonia Orchestra. I'll link it in my Ravel playlist. Lastly, recordings. You choose your own preferred interpretations, of course, but here are some historical ones worth listening to. Maurice Ravel Plays Ravel, which I listened to as an LP, but I believe there's also a CD. This one's under the Everest label and were reproductions of his piano rolls with these track listings. Through the Dal Segno label, there's Masters of the Piano Roll, Ravel Plays Ravel CD. Once again, these are reproductions of Ravel's piano rolls. Much discussion can be had about the Velt Mignon, Duo Art, and other reproducing piano technologies, but we shall move on. There's the complete piano music of Maurice Ravel by Casadessus. You can see some correspondence letters between the two in the compilations. Finally, Vlado Perlemuter's piano works recordings. He wrote to Ravel and asked if he could study with him, and Ravel said yes, so Perlemuter went to Montfort-l'Amaury for 6 months, playing Ravel's complete piano works in recital, later recording them. There's also a book called Ravel d'après Ravel, which are conversations between Perlemuter and violinist and friend of Ravel's Hélène Jourdan-Morhange. This is a short, basic list of resources, but hopefully enough to get you started. From these sources, now that you know some of the authors, you can search up more specific topics. If you want a longer list, there are plenty in my thesis bibliography. If you have any trouble finding resources online, please check with your libraries. There are interlibrary loans if your specific location doesn't have something. That's how I accessed everything, then saved up for books that I wanted to keep or found them at library sales or secondhand bookstores. Once again, links are in the description. I'll leave some other titles I didn't mention in this video in the comments as well. If you'd like to support this channel, I have 3 albums currently available to buy or stream. If you're looking for music resources such as this music theory zine or more ways to contribute, there are links in the description. As always, thanks for watching and happy music making.